Okay.
So, English, right?
Oh, yeah.
Push it.
Yeah, that's right. So, the title is Unity Builds. The fact that we need unity, especially before tonight. Tonight we start with the 9 days, and we are supposed to be hoping for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and of course we all know that what's necessary for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, what is, very logically, the aspect that brought us the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, that is the aspect that has to be worked on in order to bring the Beis HaMikdash back. And since it was Sinas Chinam, it means we have to have Achdus. So that's simple. That we don't even have to talk about. Especially these days, Aktualität is also a very important thing. Chazal say a very surprising thing to say, Chazal, that if we compare two kings in the history of Klal Yisrael, we find something very astonishing. Two kings, namely Shaul HaMelech and Achov HaMelech, right? Shaul HaMelech was the first king in Klal Yisrael, and he was chosen as the first king in Klal Yisrael not for nothing, not in vain. He was chosen because he was the person that was Roi. He was English, you guys help me. He was Roi.
Suitable.
He was the most suitable for a king, being the most Meshich Mo'lamala, meaning he was higher, and then not in a physical sense, in a spiritual sense.
Well, he was running after him.
Shaul HaMelech was, and Shmuel, how sad Shmuel was with his career, and that Shaul's career had ended badly. But Shaul HaMelech was the most suitable in spiritual measurements, the highest in Klal Yisrael. We don't have. If we want to find out about Shaul HaMelech, okay, in the Psukim, there's a lot of controversy about Shaul HaMelech, but we don't have to do much more than just follow David HaMelech's hesped on Shaul HaMelech.
On Jonathan and Shmuel.
Right, Jonathan and Shaul HaMelech. David being the one that Shaul was chasing to take him away from this world, and still David, the way David was maspid Shaul HaMelech just brings us very clearly how big Shaul HaMelech was. The Gemara even says that at a time, there was a pasuk in Tehillim, where David HaMelech says Shira Lashem B'yoyim hitzil oisoi mikaf kol oivov umikaf Shaul. So and the Gemara says that Hashem says to David, what? Are you comparing Shaul to your enemies, to all your enemies? And it's an expression that Chazal said that Hashem said to David, 1,000 of you is nothing compared to one Shaul HaMelech. Just to give us an idea of how elevated Shaul HaMelech is, be'einei Hashem.
Even the whole family of David HaMelech, including Yishai, who never made an Aveira, was killed by Melech Ammon because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, how can you put your family there thinking that Shaul will kill them?
Exactly. So Shaul HaMelech, the elevation of Shaul HaMelech is something we can't even try and understand. Achov HaMelech, on the other hand, Achov HaMelech is described in the Psukim, although Chazal said that he was Shokul, Melech Shokul, he had 50% good and 50% otherwise. But Achov HaMelech in the Psukim is described as being the worst king Klal Yisrael had.
Manasseh not?
Sorry?
Manasseh? Or was he not a king?
Manasseh wasn't there yet. Manasseh was later to come.
Because you said ever in Israel.
But he did achieve at least.
Until Achov. And don't forget the later kings, even the Malchei Yehuda that were not as they were supposed to be, were all descendants of Achov. So anything bad in later days was prescribed to Achov because they were all descendants of Achov and his wife Izeva. So Achov was the worst king. So we're comparing two kings that you can't even compare. Shaul HaMelech is the top of the top, the cream of the cream, and Achov HaMelech is described as the worst thing that could have happened to Klal Yisrael. And Chazal say, it's a Medrash Shochet Tov in Tehillim. Chazal say that wars fought in Shaul HaMelech's days and wars fought in Achov HaMelech's days had the opposite result that we would have expected. We would have expected wars fought in Shaul HaMelech's days to be very successful for Klal Yisrael, and wars fought in Achov HaMelech's days to be very unsuccessful. The facts show us the opposite. Shaul HaMelech's days, the wars were not very successful, and Achov had spectacular victories. Spectacular victories. So the only thing Chazal offer us to understand this is not the kings themselves, but the matzav between Klal Yisrael.
Even they are saying, despite of him. Despite of
the
him.
king. Shaul HaMelech's war, despite having the best king Klal Yisrael could have had, because Klal Yisrael were not very friendly towards each other. Chazal cite the Lashon Hara that was told there, because Anshe also Kapitel Tehillim. I don't remember
What happens in the prosperity line?
Yes, but before Anshe Dom, there's a kapitel that starts where the people of a certain place, I can't remember the place, went to Shaul HaMelech to say, David is hiding with us. B'voy hazifim l'shol v'yomo haloi David mistater imonu. So these were anshe loshen hora. So because of that situation, the wars were not being won. The victories were not won. There weren't any victories, spectacular victories at least. In the days of Achov, on the other hand, where there was a lot of Izebel was looking for the Nevi'ei Yisrael, Nevi'ei Hashem, in order to kill them. Everybody knew that they were hiding in a cave with Ovadia Hanovi protecting them. Everybody knew that, and not one person found it important to go tell on them to the Beis HaMalchus. So the people were protecting each other. They were not slandering each other, is the word in English. So Chazal say, so you have Shaul HaMelech and Achov HaMelech, the cream of the cream, and the bottom of the bottom. And here the victories were there because of the matzav, the achdus in Klal Yisrael. So additional to the importance of achdus these days, because of the 9 days, because of the 9 take from before Tisha B'Av, I assume we can talk about trying to be mispallel for our haslucha in Eretz Yisrael today too. So it's very important for us. Achdus is important not only as a yearly thing of being machzir the binyan beis hamikdash, but also in order to be able. Maybe we should not talk about victory over others, but at least victory for ourselves, so that we should be protected. So unity builds. What I would like to talk today about is how exactly is that unity supposed to look? What is expected of us regarding the concept of unity? Because to make it very simple, if you don't go very deep into the concept of unity, it would be very possible to say, if it's unity we're looking for, okay, so let's scrape away all differences. Let's dress, I'm taking a very extreme example, let's all dress the same. Let's all do all the same minhagim. And we'll get up at the same time in the morning, and we'll go to sleep at the same time. Let's erase all separations.
Which is against nature.
Which is against nature. But maybe if that's what unity expects from us, if that's what we're supposed to do, so we'll go against nature. we are as a nation, we're pretty used to going against nature. So nature shouldn't be the one that scares us away. So if that's the simple concept of unity, what are we doing?
To respect each other's differences.
Okay, so I'm going to change places with you. Of course, that's where we're going. That's where we're heading. But let's go into that a bit deeper. And I think the parsha we learned yesterday is a nice catapult to this concept. Very interesting. At the end of the parsha, there's the Mate B'nai Yosef, the tribe of Yosef, the Shevet of Yosef, has a problem. B'nai Tzolofchad, these daughters of Tzolofchad that had no brothers, had succeeded in getting a new concept in Nachla. They were allowed, as opposed to any other girls. Girls do not get any Nachla in Eretz Yisrael. It's only the males, not the females. But the B'nai Tzolofchad came with a big taina. Our father's not here because of a different reason. So what's going to be with our Nachla? We're not going to have any Nachla. So they got Pasha last week, Pasha Smatras. They got Nachla. They are going to get a piece of Eretz Yisrael.
Ken B'not Tzlofchad Dovrot.
Ken B'not Tzlofchad Dovrot. Thank you very much. The Pasha of yesterday, the whole Shevet comes with a big concern. Okay, very nice. Our B'nai Tzolofchad are getting a piece of Eretz Yisrael, but they're going to get married, and they're going to get married to people from other Shevotim, which means before we even start, our pieces of our land are going to be transferred to other Shevotim because it's the husband. That's the way. I'm sorry, but that's the way. That's the way it works.
In the middle of their territory, like
in the middle of there, they're going to have like gaps of territory.
Different shvutim.
Different shvutim, and everybody's going to be coming in, and their borders are not going to be respected. So what's going to happen?
This is the first appeal to the High Court in the Torah
Yeah.
on the same subject. You are to Bnei Yosef also. Ken Bnei Yosef Dovrim.
Yes. And they get just as the Bnei Tzolofchad got their way, so did Mate B'nai Yosef get their way. And there's a new din. Zeh Adovar Asher Tzivu Hashem. Not only B'nai Yosef, but all the Shvotim should not intermarry. Because maybe not only B'nai Tzolofchad.
Not only her shul,
It was not only B'nai Tzolofchad. It was also the other Shvotim too. Because not only since the B'nai Tzolofchad got their way, it was a universal law that any shevet that had girls without brothers would get the same thing that the B'nai Tzolofchad got.
It applies to everybody since it was a precedent.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So it applies to all the Shvatim. And so this complaint of Mate B'nai Yosef also applies to all the Shvatim, meaning at least until after Eretz Yisrael is divided equally to everybody, at least until after that, this new law applies. The Shvatim are not going to intermarry.
What about afterwards?
Right. We'll soon see. It probably the way Chazal tell it, there was an isur bichlal, no intermarriage. Of course, you can ask, what's the big deal? When there are only girls, they should not intermarry. But the shvotim between themselves, if they're males, or who cares? But apparently, the law, in order to make a universal law, to not cause any complexities, there was this universal, all-encompassing law. No intermarriage between the shvatim, at least until everybody has got his Thailand plans. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a yontif. In a week's time, we're going to have not a yontif, but in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a yontif. Tu ba'av, chamisha osar ba'av. In the Masechtas Tanis at the end, the last blot in Tanis, the Gemara has the different reasons. What's this big yontif of Chamisha Osor Ba'av? Because the Mishnah says, Lo yehoyu yomim tovim li Yisrael k'mo Yom HaKippurim v'Chamisha Osor Ba'av. So the Gemara asks, what's the comparison? Yom Kippurim is the day where Klal Yisrael gets Slicha, Mechila, Kapara, all the that I understand. What's the big yontif? But Chamisha Osar B'Av. What's the big yontif of Chamisha Osar B'Av? There are a few opinions. One of the opinions is one that's very known, everybody seems to know that. Commonly known, yeah. That Yom, thank you. Yom shehutru hashvotim lovoi zeh b'zeh. Apparently, after kibush v'chiluk, after everything was divided, so all the shvotim had settled down. Everybody has got his part of Klal Yisrael. So this new universal law does not apply anymore because it's already defined, it's already divided. And from then on, the shvotim are allowed to intermarry.
There is something more than that you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Even the girls had uniform clothes, the same white clothes. You couldn't distinguish them.
That's because there was a yontif. It apparently with time this became the day of the year where a lot of shidduchim were made. So the Gemara describes how the girls were walking out on the streets to get shidduchim.
got married. The Achinoim came up to him.
But that was after Shevet Binyamin. That was after Pelegish B'Givon. That was not Chamish Osa B'Av yet. That was a lot later than.
But to come back to our topic, what happened with the Talmud from Bnei Yosef, even after Kibush V'Chiluk, this is something that would occur.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have to get into the complexities. But once the Kibush V'Chiluk is done, the shevet stays with stays balabos over their land. It cannot transfer from one shevet. The land cannot transfer from one shevet to the other. That girls will be able to get a nachla, which creates the risk of transferring nachla to others, is apparently only before Kiddush V'Chiluk. After Kiddush V'Chiluk, this risk is not there, and. Okay, so it's an issue that we have to. If we want to go through that, we have to really understand it. But apparently, that's the way it works. This risk was only until after Kiddush V'Chiluk. I do not want to focus on that because it's not an easy issue, and I don't know the answers to that as simple as it might seem. I would like to focus on one thing. If we lay the parsha yesterday. Apparently, the Torah is very happy with Matei B'nai Yosef. They were the people that had Chibas Eretz Yisrael. They were so concerned about losing a piece of Eretz Yisrael. Hashem is very happy with them. They're very satisfied. Wow, these people are really into Eretz Yisrael.
You see that way.
That's the way. That's what I said. Chazal say that this new law was supposed to be given through Moshe. But the Matei B'nai Yosef, Hashem seeing their love of Eretz Yisrael, was mezakeh them that they should be the ones that should bring about this new law. So the Torah, everybody's very satisfied with Matei B'nai Yosef, although it implies that there's no intermarriage between Shvotim. But that's not an issue. No, Chibas Eretz Yisrael is a big issue. Nachlas Eretz Yisrael is a big issue. We're all very satisfied. A generation or two later, when it's Hutru Hashvotim Lavoi Zeh B'Zeh, suddenly this is the biggest yontif that Klal Yisrael had. The biggest yontif after Yom Kippur, Hutru Hashvatim Lavoi Zeh B'Zeh. That implies, to my mind, that this is one of the biggest tzarot that Klal Yisrael had, that the Shvotim are not allowed to intermarry. And now, this is the biggest Yeshua that we had. From now on, Shvotim are allowed to intermarry. So, this doesn't make sense. We started off with a law that there's no intermarriage, but when this law came into being, it wasn't perceived as something bad. On the contrary, it was perceived as something very, very nice and very admirable. That the Shvotim, that Shevet B'nai Yosef brought about this new law, and suddenly a generation or two afterwards, it's perceived as being such a pain in the neck, and it was such a big tzorah that when finally the Hutru Hashvotim Lavoi Zeh B'Zeh, it was the biggest yontif that Klal Yisrael had. So how do we describe that? So what we find, if anybody would like to offer an explanation, I'm open. The kasha is not so bad, but there is a certain.
Depends on the intention that they had when they wanted. They really loved their soul, and that's why they did it. This was a side effect. That was not
right.
What they did was a good thing. But it had
That would probably be the simplest way to explain it. It was never good to have this issur of intermarriage, but it was a sacrifice. It was, thank you.
Maybe the point is that in the beginning this was a very good thing, but why did it become afterwards such a big yontif? Because it brought to more achdus.
So that's of course where we're heading. And by the way, Mr. De Jong has already got my place here. So, but we can put 2 chairs if you want.
This is the cost of the establishment of a state. That's the cost. In order to establish the system and to form everything, it takes some time, and nobody realizes what is missing.
Right.
Once it was allowed and permitted, that's the answer.
Indeed, that would be the most simple way of explaining it. That it was never a good thing to have this issur. How do you say issur prohibition, limitation of intermarriage. It was never a good thing, but it was a sacrifice for a better good, for a larger good.
And it was temporary.
So when
The longest thing is temporary. The most longest thing is temporary.
because you're waiting for it to end. Right.
You need one more chair over there.
Sorry?
One more chair.
Yeah. Or maybe we just turn the camera around. Okay. So let's go into the Beis Hamikdash. Let's go into the concept of achdus for Beis Hamikdash. What we find is that the Beis Hamikdash was something that's very interesting. Is in the Torah there's no mention of where the Beis Hamikdash is going to be. The Torah always calls the Beis Hamikdash the place which Hashem is going to choose. Guess. Somebody says, know the story when one of the 2 kids asked the father, "We know one of us is not from you. Which one is it?" And he says, "Guess," and he closes his eyes in fact, and he's not there anymore. So you don't know. So when till the Torah. At the end of the Torah, we still do not know where the Beis Hamikdash is going to be. You can come into Eretz Yisrael, there still is no Beis Hamikdash. They take the Mishkan, they build it up in Shiloh, and we're waiting. You know how long Klal Yisrael waited in Shiloh? It was like almost 370 years. Till Shiloh was Chorev, till Shiloh got burnt down. And then, and still they did not build the Beis Hamikdash. It was moved to Noiv, Givon, another 57 years, until 480 years after Yitzias Mitzrayim, Shlomo Melech starts building the new Beis Hamikdash. After his father David, together with Shmuel, figured out exactly where the Beis Hamikdash is supposed to be. Something very astonishing. What does the Torah say about the place of the Beis Hamikdash? Torah says, "Hamokom asher yivchar Hashem mikol shevotecha." One place it says mikol shevotecha, the other says ba'achat shevotecha, and it's the 2 psukim are very close to each other in Parshas Ve'eh. Sorry,
What's the translation of it?
mikol shevotecha, the place from all your tribes, and ba'achat shevotecha is in one of your tribes. So the Gemara understands it's going to be in the nachlo, in the space of one of the tribes, but apparently it's supposed to belong to all of them. How do you get that? We don't know. But we do get an answer from somewhere else. We find a contradiction of Melochim, Sefer Melochim, and Sefer Divrei Hayomim. In Sefer Melochim it says that David HaMelech bought the Mokem HaMikdash. He paid for it. From Aravno HaYevusi. And he paid 50 kesef. In the Divrei Hayomim it says 600. So 50 to 600 It's a pretty big gap. How do you get that? So the Gemara says, yes, David HaMelech took 50 kesef from every shevet,
Which makes some.
and 50 times 12 is 600. Yeah, it looks very. It doesn't look like a shalish fidus Torah. It looks very reasonable. Yeah. So 50 times 12 is 600, because David HaMelech understood the place that the Mikdash is going to be built has to be mikol shivotecha. It was. I don't want to go into all the details, but Klal Yisrael, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, already prepared this, that the future Mokem HaMikdash is going to belong to all the Shvatim. And how did they prepare this? A very interesting thing. How did they prepare this? Since they did not know where it's going to be. So they took Yericho. Yericho was reserved, does not belong to anybody. For the meantime, the Einiklach of Yisro, the Bnei Keni, were living in Yericho. Why is that? Because they made the calculation like this: there is going to be a Beis Hamikdash in the future, and wherever it's going to be in a city that belongs to the whole of Klal Yisrael. But it's going to be in one of the nachlos of the Shvatim, which means that shevet, whoever it's going to be, is going to be losing one city. Yeah, you can say it's not an entire city. It's only the Beis Hamikdash with a few. But let's face it, if you have the Beis Hamikdash and Shalish Ribolim and everybody's going to come with you lost the whole city. Yeah, it's not yours anymore. It belongs to Klal Yisrael.
Today they would argue for the tourists is good. It's a good income.
Yeah. But it's like let's say we would say Van der Nestle is going to have a visit of let's say one of the big Rebbes. Yeah, he's going to come, and this Rebbe is going to come with all his Hasidim and all his things. But don't worry, guys, from Van der Nestle. It's only going to be this room and the coffee room, maybe. That's ridiculous because and they're going to be here just 3 weeks, not more than 3 weeks.
Auf dem steht doch, lo tzara makom.
Yeah, but I think you can rest assured that at least for those 3 weeks you can go look for a different shul to daven in, because the whole, and you're not if you have something left over after those 3 weeks, you can be very happy. So the shevet that's going to have the Beis Hamikdash in that city of his lost the city. So they prepared, the Shvatim has prepared Yericho, so that shevet that's going to lose the city where the Beis Hamikdash is going to come should be compensated with the city of Yericho.
I'm not supposed to not live there. So?
Yes, that's a different problem. What we do see, the fact is, we do see that Yericho was rebuilt, even though Yehoshua made the Cherem. It's not what was not supposed to be rebuilt. We find in the Mishnah, Yericho was a very holy city. A lot of sounds of the Beis Hamikdash and
Reach
HaKtoret were in Yericho were very, very fine. But that's again detail. So we know that the Beis Hamikdash was supposed to be Mikol Shivotecha, and that's why the Chazal explained, David bought from every shevet, took 50 kesef to buy the Beis Hamikdash from everybody together. It's a condition in the Beis Hamikdash, apparently, that the Beis Hamikdash has to belong to all the Shvatim. Yerushalayim habnur ki ir shechubro lo yachtov. It's mechaber all shesham alu shvatim shifteko. All the Shvatim come up. It has to belong. All the Shvatim have to come to this Beis Hamikdash, and that's apparently a condition to the Beis Hamikdash. Now, what is the essence of the Beis Hamikdash? It's not just a structure. The essence of the Beis Hamikdash is Hashraat Hashchina. Hashraat Hashchina. The condition for Hashraat Hashchina is Shvatim. All the Shvatim have to be together, and we can see that even in the Mishkan in the desert, in the Midbar. As soon as the Mishkan was built, Be'echot Benisan Hukam HaMishkan, a few weeks later, Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, the Golem. Yep, finished. Not all Klal Yisrael together. Now we need Reuven here, Yehuda there, Ephraim here, Binyamin there. Everybody's supposed to have his place. And all the Shvatim, with the center point being the Beis HaMikdash, that's Hashras HaShechina. It's the only way you can get Hashras HaShechina. The point brought about here is like this. How long is this? How long are we supposed to be?
This is only an indication, it's not a must.
But we're supposed to be half an hour.
Yeah,
it's fine, it's fine.
He's running half an hour.
Yeah. To bring about to illustrate this point, I would like to mention one of the Shlosh Esrei Midos Shahatoyron Dreshes Bohem that we say by the davening before Hoidu, the last thing from the Kabbalas. One of them is Binyan Av Mikosuv Echod u Binyan Av Mishnei Ksuvim. Binyan Av Mishnei Ksuvim, without going into all the complexities, is when we learn Gemara, we find it very much. It's called Mehatzad, Atzad HaShoveh. When we're trying to learn a certain law from one domain, and we're trying to bring it about to the other domains, let's bring
מכנה משותף, common denominator.
common denominators, similarities. So we try. That's the way the Torah is built. The Torah is built where the Torah gives us an indication in one place, and we are supposed to take that and bridge it to other places. But we are never sure. Maybe the Torah wanted it only there, not in other places. So we have to be sure that the Torah wanted this aspect to be bridged over to other domains as well. So there are many ways. I don't want to go into all the ways. One of the ways is, it's called Atzad HaShoveh. The Torah says the same aspect in two different places. And we say this. We find it here. We find that aspect here, the law here. And we want to bridge it over. But maybe this is because it's white. I'm just, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe this is because it's white. So we can't apply this aspect to other colors. Okay? But we find the same aspect in the Torah in a different domain. And that domain is not white. So it can't be because it's white that this law is there, because we see that even when it's not white, the law is still there. And it can't be because it's transparent that the law is there, because this is not transparent. And this is called lo harei zeh kaharei zeh, velo harei zeh kaharei zeh. This is not the same as this, and this is not the same as this, which means the bridge is open. The bridge is open. We can start applying this law to all other aspects. Meaning, let's try to bring out the point very clearly. It's the differences between these two elements that allow us to widen the horizon.
Because
if these two aspects would not be different, then we would be limited, because we would not be able to bridge. We don't know if we can bridge this law, because maybe there are certain conditions here. The fact that these two are different, and sometimes you can have even three elements, yeah, 3 elements, and there's the more the differences, the sharper the differences. It's a paradox.
But they must have one common thing, for example, they are both cups.
Exactly. So in this case, I would say they're very different. So what is the common denominator? Ma mechanem shutaf. It has to be because they are cups. Now, let's say I would take this, and I'll find the third element. I would even go wider, because this is not a cup, and still it has the same law.
They're
I would have to say it's containers.
Are disposable.
Or disposable, or containers, or whatever.
Wow.
The sharper the difference, the more difference you have, the less similarity. It's a paradox. The less similarity, the more difference there is, you can apply the law wider. In other words, so let's bring out this point very paradoxically. Difference causes more inclusion.
Since it does not limit itself by one.
Right. Difference, in essence, to our ears, the first thing we hear in difference is limitation. You're limited because you're different. The paradox here is no. It's dafka, the difference between these things, that take away all the limitations.
It's only on the condition that you want to enlarge. If you don't want to enlarge...
Very nice, Mr. Leon. So, very nice idea. So, difference can be positive when enlarging. When trying to enlarge, the more difference you have, the more you can include. So, and this should be the whole idea here, which explains also the Mate B'nai Yosef. What's the problem in the beginning where there's no intermarriage between the Shvatim, and afterwards it's such a big Yeshua, Hutru HaShvatim Lo Ezeh V'zeh? Exactly, that's the way it's supposed to work. Because the Achdus is not supposed to be all of Klal Yisrael together in one big pot of chun. No, that's not the idea of Achdus. The idea of Achdus is to have every Shevet in his place, settle down. Nobody comes into there with his limitations, with his difference, with his uniqueness. Every Shevet, once that's settled down, we can start talking about Achdus. That's when we can start uniting them, building with unity. How do you build? You almost can't build with one element. There is one way of building with one element. The mud houses in certain slums, but they're not very durable houses. I think the mud houses. Yeah, normally building, you have to have building blocks. If we're talking about building with unity, you have to first have blocks. Every Shevet is his own block, with his own uniqueness, with his own aspects, his own qualities, not mixing with the rest, staying unique, and then you can talk about mixing, not mixing them together, but uniting them together, integrating them together. The paradox being, why do we need this? Because the Achdus of Klal Yisrael is supposed to bring about Hashra'at HaShechina. Now let's say all of Klal Yisrael would be together, we would not be sure. Remember this example? We would not be sure what exactly brings about Hashra'at HaShechina. We don't know. Maybe it's because there's a certain quality in Klal Yisrael, and it's that quality that's conditional to Hashra'at HaShechina. Maybe it's a second quality. Maybe it's a third quality. And then we would be limited, because maybe Hashra'at HaShechina is conditional on certain qualities. By separating the Shvatim Zeh Mizeh, by having every Shevet with his own separate qualities, we are enlarging Klal Yisrael. We are saying, no, it's not conditional on the quality of Shevet Ruven, because Shevet Shimon does not have that quality, and still there is Hashra'at HaShechina. Shevet Levi has a very big quality, Kohanim, Leviim, but it's not conditional on them, because there's also Shevet Yisachar. So by having different Shvatim, and by having the differences between the Shvatim, we are actually, what are we doing? We are saying it's not this, and it's not this. It must be something that's a common denominator to all of them. What is the common denominator? That they are all looking to Hashem. Everybody has his own qualities, his own focuses, his own accents, but at the end of the day, they're all together. There's a beautiful expression. I don't know if you've ever heard it. In the Siddur, we all know that there's Nusach Sfarad and there's Nusach Ashkenaz. There's a very beautiful expression from, it's a saying. There's no, it's like half of a joke, but it's beautiful. Nusach Sfarad starts Psukei de Zimra with Hoidu. After Hoidu, you say Mizmoshi Chanukos Habayis, and then finally Baruch She'amar. Which is a bit funny, because Baruch Shama is supposed to be the bracha preceding the Psukei de Zimra. And the Sfardim have already started the Psukei de Zimra, so to say. There are reasons for that, but that's Nusach Sfarad. Nusach Ashkenaz does it the way it seems proper. They start with Baruch Shama, and afterwards you ever heard this saying? It's a very beautiful saying. Nusach Sfarad and Ashkenaz are very different. When do they come together? By Yehi Chavoid Hashem. That's when they come together. When everybody has his separations, his limitations, his uniqueness, but when we're talking about Kavoid Hashem, then all the differences are gone. Elu va'elu divrei
Is it
Elohim.
not? I'm only ask not as opinion, but as a question mark. Is it not? I haven't analyzed it with the point that I'm saying, so I may be wrong, but is it not, if you take common denominators, that you come up as a very watered down, very neutral thing, and that there's certain very good elements which only that one has got and that one hasn't got.
If they specialize in it, they want
Especially, I don't know how I don't know how to define it. I hope the Rabbi understands the
Yes,
point.
Mr. De Jong is raising a very relevant concern. I think his concern. Let's
No, I'm not
let's repeat
concerned.
His concern
I only
is
want to.
if we're looking for a common denominator, it means we're trying to take away all the differences. In order to do that, we have to take away a lot. And what are we going to remain with? A very, very watered down version of what we think is very important. And so and we remain with nothing. But the truth is, no. The truth is, we do not water down anything. Everybody stays exactly with what and guards. Everybody guards his entity with his uniqueness. We are only looking for the thread that binds everything together. But it's not a fusion. We are not fusing Klal Yisrael together. That's the concept here. No, Klal Yisrael must not be fused. No, Leman Hashem. Everybody should stay the way he is and find the combining thread.
I'll give you an example what happened here in this place with my family. I don't know, 18, 19 years ago. A brother of my grandmother was Shimon Upload. He was the secretary of Rabbi here in Antwerp. And they made up as a chasna. I don't know exactly what the pseudonym of the chasna were. But in the end, they couldn't serve not this kashrus, not that kashrus, so the whole suda was fish. You could tell it just falls into my head. Ein simcha bebosse yain. That's not correct. It's very nice to have fish. Yes. We have fish in all sudas by a chasna, but we need to have meat.
That's a very relevant.
So what do you do now? You
that's
make
a very
compromise.
Very relevant concern. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
This is nicht ein bosso.
Right. So the important thing in this concept, we are not talking about compromising. Everybody should stay the way he is and do not compromise on anything and still look for a common thread. That's the gadlus of Achdus.
The beauty is that the Sfarad's Nusach is adapted by Chassidim.
Yeah.
This is the contradiction within the same thing.
Yeah.
And there is another problem. Can you imagine Mashiach wird kommen? Welche Kashrus wird man essen?
It will be a problem. Yeah. But what you're raising is practical concerns. In practical life.
This was also one.
Yes, of course. It's going to be a very practical, yes. Yes, but that's not that's a consequence. A consequence of everybody staying in his own realm. How do you get them together in a practical situation? And so it of course it has its challenges, but that's a different issue. That's a different domain here. What we're talking about is the achdus that's expected from us is staying the way you are and still finding the thread that combines everybody together. We find that in Hashras Hashchina, I think the biggest proof for that is the Midbar, where Klal Yisrael was there. Klal Yisrael had all the achdus. There was and Hashem very surprisingly says, "There's a Mishkan now. Now I want separate shvatim. Don't mix." And every 3 shvatim has one common flag. We need this separation in order to create the unity that's conditional to Hashras Hashchina. Unity that's fusion is not unity. Unity is only real unity when everybody stays the way he is, and you can find by respecting each other, Mr. Leon, you can find that thread, that very abstract thread that combines them all together. That's when you make Hashras
Unity means when you put 2 things together, but if they are one, it's not unity really. If you just make them all the short in one big, so it's not unity. It is already one in itself. So.
Exactly. That's the idea. If you have one of the Sforim, the philosophical Sifrei Chassidus and Sifrei Musar talk about this when they're talking about the mitzvah of ve'ohavta l'reacho kamoicha, and they say when you have 2 people that complement each other, that's not ve'ohavta l'reacho kamoicha, not complement with an I, complement with an I. Vullen elkaar aan.
Yeah.
Or they're very similar to each other.
Together they are more.
Complementary.
1 and 1 is 3.
They're complementary, yeah.
1 and 1 is 3.
Right. So if they have no problem communicating with each other, on the contrary, they work together perfectly because one complements the other. That's not haftan. It's very nice. It's very nice. Of course, it's better than otherwise. But that's not what the Torah wants for the V'ahavta l'Recha Kamecha. You haven't been Mekayim the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'Recha Kamecha. When are you Mekayim the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'Recha Kamecha? When the two are opposites. When whatever one does goes against the grain of the other. Huh? You understand what I'm saying? That's when the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'Recha Kamecha starts. When the two people cannot get together because of their limitations, because of their separations, because of their differences, and then they try to respect each other, try to work together,
To compromise.
despite maybe compromising.
Otherwise, hashlama.
Right. Okay. If they have to be mashlim each other, despite their differences, that's where the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'Recha Kamecha starts. So we see that the actual binyan Beis Hamikdash. If we look at today's world, of course there are a lot of differences. We're all different. Everybody's different. And there's all kinds of minhagim and all kinds of... And some people have this idea of why should we be so different? We're supposed to be together, we're supposed to be united. Why should everybody be so different and have his own shittot and his own opinions? And the truth is, the beauty of Achdus is that. The beauty of Achdus is not only the beauty, the essence of Achdus is... If the paradox is let's put it very sharply, the paradox is very sharp. If we would do away with all our differences, we would not have the conditional achdus for binyan Beis Hamikdash. The achdus that's a condition for the binyan Beis Hamikdash is guard your differences, keep them, and guard them very jealously, and despite those differences, work together, respect each other, find the common denominators. I was last week. I don't know. I wasn't preparing on saying this here, but I'm giving an example, an emotional. For me, it's an emotional example. I don't know about you guys, but I was last week in Germany, going around a bit to Kvorim and a bit of vacation. It's a bit of L'Shem Shamayim and a bit of Stam vacation. So we were in Worms, Vermeisen.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went to this shul that's apparently supposed to be Rashi's shul. We don't know if it's not Rashi's shul or not.
Yeah.
And we were waiting outside because it wasn't open yet until the guy came. And as it happened, or as Yidden we were supposed to say Hashgacha Pratit, there was a whole tourist group. Apparently they were like pensioned people, pensioneerde, Israelis. Coming from around the whole world, but Israelis. At the end of the day, Israelis all speaking Hebrew. There was a group of men and women, and they did not look like the type that come Sunday morning to Vandenes Live for davening and a shir. No, they did not look like that. They looked pretty much detached from Yiddishkeit. And okay, but so it's nice, especially when you're in Germany. It's nice to find a group of Yidden. It's always like that we always feel closer when we're in enemy territory. That's the way it is. But okay, so we went, and the emotional part for me was finally they opened and we went into the shul. And so one of us said, okay, we have an Israeli group here, and there's something going on in Israel. Let's say a Perek Tehillim together in Ivrit. So the Perek Tehillim together. And then one of us, we were 4 people, one of us goes to the leader of the group, and he was wearing this, I think it's called Kova Tembel.
Yeah.
You know, this thing, you see it from a kilometer away, you know this guy's an Israeli, because there's no other person in the world. So, and he looked just like the rest. And one of us said, let's try. He's not going to hit me for asking. And he goes up and says, listen, we're 4 people. You want to daven mincha. Is there any possibility? Do you think there's any possibility of davening mincha? He was probably standing far, so a bit afraid. And he didn't even answer. The Kova Temple guy didn't even answer. He just all the women, please, on the other side. We are going to, the men stay here. We are going to be davening mincha now. And we had a mincha. They were davening Shmoneh Esrei longer than we were. And we had Kaddish and Kedusha. And for me, that was the most emotional part of the. For me, I said to the guys, I can go back now to Antwerp. I had my vacation already. The fact that you can find the one common denominator. We are so different from each other. Our lives.
The Pintele Yid is a Roski Kinder.
Yeah, and it's that Pintele That's the thread that combines us. And that's the emotional part of it, because would they be exactly the same as me, or would I be exactly the same as them? I wouldn't find this emotional inspiration. It's dafka the fact that we are so different from each other, and despite that we can find the thread that combines us. That's Hashra'at HaShekhinah. That's when the Shekhinah says, I want to be part of this unity.
Practice a few weeks ago, remember they abducted the 3 boys.
Yeah.
They were Yeshiva Bochum, that team, Chilonim, everybody was talking about our children. Everybody was united.
The whole of Am Yisrael came together. And it's still today. The whole of Am Yisrael came together with all its differences, with all its separations. And that's the type of achdus that we need for the Binyan Beis
Regrettably, only in such opportunities
yes.
we are gathering and becoming one.
That's why I told you this. I related this incident of last week. It was a parve opportunity.
But
we were just together. We happened to be together.
You know, in Belgium, the slogan is "Union fait la force," which is the same.
Yeah.
It's the king who unites the difference here. Otherwise, it wouldn't be.
We wouldn't have a Belgium anymore.
No.
We would have Vlaanderen and Wallonia.
You
Well,
were a few Chassidim there, you would find another bunch of Chassidim down together. It's normal, nothing special.
For that, I didn't have to go from Antwerp to Germany. But to find this kvutza, and it's not only a kvutza that's not Chassidim, it's a kvutza. If you would all look at them, you would probably all be very, very assured that these people are pretty far from Yiddishkeit. I was surprised that
they knew how to daven.
They knew how to daven.
So they were less proud.
Yes,
The difference was less than you thought.
100%.
You know, there was one president.
You know what? I was surprised. I was expecting one of the women to say, "No, well, we have to."
Our rights.
We came in.
There was a president of Israel, one of them, without mentioning a name. He was called to Torah, and he was asked, Moshe ben 75. His ignorance was that far.
Yeah.
So that's no. Abba Shecha, it's a 85.
So may we all be zoiche to have the real after that will bring about the Mashiach to Kenu Binyan Beis Hamikdash.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Oorlogstijden en ellende met elkaar in vrede.
Ik vind het wel erg.
Ach hoor, ik weet niet, gisteren